Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to another session by Council Bar. My name is Kelicia Letlow. I'm a immigration attorney licensed to practice in Canada. Today, I will be talking to you about the Express Entry Program and how you can come to Canada through the Express Entry Program. I am a lawyer with KYL Law Firm, and today I have with me a student, a summer student, who will be sharing for a short while about the Express Entry Program. I do want to mention that nothing said in this session today is legal advice. If you would like to submit an application or if you have questions about an application, please contact us or speak to a professional for assistance. So I'll now hand it over to Tenzin to give you just a quick overview of the Express Entry Program.
Thank you, Kelicia, for the introduction. So the Express Entry system, which was launched in January 2015, is part of the economic class category. Not only does the system facilitate Canada's long-term economic growth, but it also serves as a fast-track route to permanent residence in Canada. Individuals applying under this system are selected based on their ability to become economically established in the country. This new management system, which marked a profound shift from Canada's previous first-come, first-served basis of selecting economic immigrants, allows the Canadian government to effectively manage the intake of applications for permanent residence under one of the immigration programs, while simultaneously identifying individuals who are most likely to successfully become integrated to Canada's economy. Individuals who are interested in immigrating to Canada as a skilled worker are required to create an Express Entry profile and provide information regarding their skills, work experience, language ability, education, and additional details. Individuals who are interested in coming to Canada as a skilled worker can do so under 3 federal economic immigration programs and 1 participating provincial economic immigration program, each with different requirements. Under the Federal Skilled Workers Program, professionals and skilled workers who want to immigrate to Canada permanently will have their applications assessed according to 6 selection factors. Not only is this the oldest program, but candidates in this program are known to account for the largest proportion of all those who are granted permanent residence. The second program, which is the Federal Skilled Trades Program, is for skilled workers who want to become permanent residents based on their qualification in a particular skilled trade. Thirdly, the Canadian Experience class was created for skilled workers who have Canadian work experience and want to become permanent residents. Lastly, the Express Entry streams of the Provincial Nominee Program affords provinces and territories the opportunity to nominate candidates who satisfy their regional labor market needs. As was just mentioned, the eligibility criteria for the programs differ, although all 3 federal programs share some similarities insofar as they require minimum language abilities and expect applicants to satisfy a particular level, type, and amount of work experience. They differ as to the job offer and education requirement. There is no expectation or requirement of a job offer for the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Canadian Experience class, albeit selection criteria points will be awarded to applicants under the Federal Skilled Worker Program if they have a valid job offer. Additionally, there is no requirement of education for the Federal Skilled Trades Program or the Canadian Experience class. After applicants have provided information, an applicant's profile will then enter the Express Entry pool, and they will be awarded points under the Comprehensive Ranking System, which is also referred to as the CRS. The system collects information regarding an applicant's age, language ability, family members, education, work experience, and lastly, job offer. A CRS score consists of 2 components, which includes the core points and additional points, and a candidate can receive a maximum CRS score of 1,200 points. The highest ranking candidate in the pool will then receive an invitation to apply for permanent residence, at which point they will be given 60 calendar days to submit an online application. The invitations are sent in rounds in descending CRS score rank order until the maximum number of invitations to be distributed is met. Most complete applications that have all supporting documents typically do not take more than 6 months to process. As the Express Entry programs have become the most popular pathways for qualified and skilled individuals seeking to immigrate and establish a new life in Canada, it is of paramount importance that we take a closer look at the system and the different requirements of each program.
Thank you very much, Tenzin, for giving us that overview. I will now give you a brief summary of the different programs and expand on some of the things that Tenzin would have shared with us. So, as Tenzin mentioned, there are four programs under the express entry option to come to Canada. And that includes the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, the Canadian Experience Class, and also applications for the Provincial Nominee Program come under the Express Entry um, program also. So the Express Entry program is quite popular. It amounts for most of the persons that are given permanent residence in Canada in a given year. And the first one I like to talk about is the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And that program, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, as Tenzin would have mentioned, is a points-based system, and you're awarded points for a number of different factors, and that includes your skilled work experience, your language ability, and also your education. The minimum requirements for the federal skilled worker program, or the minimum areas, the basic areas, I should say, that they look for the federal skilled worker program is your work experience, your language ability, and also your education. Once you would have satisfied those three areas, then you're awarded points based on six other, or I should say, six selection factors, which I've listed here. That includes your official language skills, your education, your work experience, your age, your adaptability, how much you can adapt to life in Canada, and whether or not you have arranged employment in Canada. That is whether or not you have a valid job offer in Canada. The minimum score that you must get in order to qualify for this program is 67 points. So you must get 67 points. That's the minimum score. If you don't get 67 points based on these selection factors, you will not be eligible to apply to the program. And on the screen, I've listed the maximum points that you can get for the different selection factors. And the second thing that I want to mention about this program is the work experience. So it's very specific. If you're applying to the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you must have work experience within one of the um, areas that are listed on the screen. I would not get into the national occupation classification. That is what is used to classify your work experience. I will not get into that today. But once you have obtained the minimum 67 points, then you have to ensure that you have the right work experience. And your work experience must be in a managerial job, a professional job, or a technical or skills trades job. So the national occupation classification, there are different classifications for different types of jobs, and there's O, A, or B. There's C, but O, A, or B is for your job or your work experience must be either type O or A or B. So it must be in A O or B. And again, that's a managerial job, a professional job, or a technical or skills trades job. With regard to work experience, you must have obtained this work experience within 10 years within the last 10 years before you submit your application. So if, for example, you're submitting your application in 2020, but the work experience that you want to use is from 2005, then that would not be eligible for this program. The work experience that you're using must be within 10 years from the day that you're submitting your application to this program. You must have worked 1 year full time in the job, and that amounts to 1,560 hours, or you must have worked the same. You can use part-time work, but it must equal to at least 1,560 hours. So it must be 1 year full-time work experience, or the equivalent amount of part-time experience. Also, with the federal skilled worker program, you must show that you have met the language ability for this program. And for this program, you must complete a test, and that test is either the IELTS test or the CELPIP test. And more information about the English test can be found on Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada website. And you're tested in 4 different areas. For the language test, you're tested in the area of writing, reading, listening, and speaking. And you must obtain a minimum score of the Canadian language benchmark 7 in all 4 areas in order to be eligible for the federal skilled worker program. What I want to mention is that the test is very important, because you would not be able to even create a profile under the Express Entry program without the test results. So you must take the test before you're even able to create a profile under the Express Entry program. So once you've gotten the test and you've achieved the Canadian language benchmark of 7 in all areas, then you can proceed with creating your profile and entering the results into your Express Entry profile. There is also a education factor in this in the federal skilled worker program. And if you've attended school in Canada, you must of course have proof that you attended school in Canada, and you would of course prove that by the certificate or diploma that you would have been awarded. For persons who that you would have given, sorry, you would have been given, my apology, for persons who would have been educated outside of Canada, you are able to do what is called an educational credential assessment, whereby you have a designated organization assess your foreign diploma or degree. And the designated organizations, you can find information about that on Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada's website. So it's not just any organization that you will go to assess your foreign degree or diploma. The I'm going to move on to the second program under the Express Entry option to come to Canada, and that is the Federal Skills Trade Program. And like the Express Entry Program, there are also you're also required to complete the English test, and you're tested in the same four areas, that is writing, reading, listening, and speaking. However, for the for this program, you the requirements is it's a bit lower. So you must obtain the Canadian Language Benchmark 4 for the Federal Skills Trade Program. So it's different from the Federal Skilled Worker Program, in that the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you have to obtain the Canadian Language Benchmark 7 in all four areas. But for this program, you must obtain 4. So language benchmark of 4. So it's a bit lower. So it's 4 for reading and writing, and 5 for speaking and listening for this program. And you must also have the required work experience. And um I've listed here just to give you an idea of the different occupations that can qualify for the federal skilled trade trade program. And oftentimes I would refer to these occupations as more hands-on occupations, as opposed to the first program which I discussed, which generally requires you to have to work in a job that requires a diploma or a degree, such as a managerial or professional position, which I mentioned before. But the second program is a bit more for persons hands-on. So for electricians, plumbers, chefs, butchers, bakers would more than likely have a strong chance of succeeding or getting permanent residence under the federal skilled trade program. So for work experience, you must have worked a minimum of 2 years full time. So again, this is a bit different from the first program, where you're required to have 1 year full time work experience. For this program, you must have worked 2 years full time within the last 5 years. You must, of course, satisfy the job requirements. And what I want to mention here is that you have to have proof that you have worked in that position. So it's not a case that you're just going on immigration website and getting a profile created and entering information from your resume. You must prove everything that you put in your profile. So you must be able to get reference letters from current or previous employers to prove that you would have worked in that position, to prove that you would have worked full time, that you do have the number of hours required, and that you would have done the duties that are required. Because what happens is that every occupation that is listed in the NOC, they've listed the duties or job responsibilities for every occupation. And whatever, if for example you say that you worked as a plumber, and whatever you duties you did as a plumber must match and be similar to the duties that are listed under the NOC for plumbers in Canada. So that is very important, because you might have a job title, but then your duties that you performed might be different from the duties under the NOC for immigration purposes, and then you will not be able to apply, because you would not have met the requirements for the program. There is generally no education requirement really for the federal skills trade program. But if you have attended a school in Canada, you will be able to get additional points for that. Or if you've attended a school outside of Canada, you should get your degree or diploma assessed, and you will be given additional points for um, for your education. There are some um, jobs that require you to prove that you are qualified, either by you having a certificate in that particular field. So though generally there isn't an educational requirement, I still want to mention that you must prove that you're qualified or certified to work in that field. The third category that I'll talk about is the Canadian Experience class. And the Canadian Experience class is similar to the other two programs in the sense that there is a language requirement. And again, you are required to show that you have met the requirements for in the four areas: writing, reading, listening, and speaking. For the Canadian Experience class, it's similar to the first program, the federal worker program, in the sense that you're required to have a minimum of 1 year skilled work experience. The difference, however, is that your work experience must be Canadian experience. So for the first program, your work experience would more than likely be work experience outside of Canada. But for the Canadian experience class, your work experience must be experience in Canada for 1 year. And it's the same in the sense that you must have worked at least 1,560 hours. And this work experience must be within the last 3 years prior to applying to the experience to the express entry program. I also want to mention something that is very important, in that the work experience you're using, it must be while you were in Canada legally. So if if you are working in Canada illegally, then you cannot use that work experience for the express entry program. It must be while you were in Canada legally. So for the Canadian experience class, it's also similar to the federal worker program, in the sense that the work experience must be either in a managerial job, a professional job, a technical job, or skills trade. So it must be A, O, or B. It must be in one of those different one of those three um occupations, or not categories, I should say. So for the Canadian experience class, for the language ability, just to go back to that, the language requirement, sorry, if you're applying to a job that falls under the knock O or A, you must have a Canadian language benchmark of 7. And if you're applying under a job which is like a technical or a skills trade job, which would fall under knock B, you must have obtained the Canadian language benchmark of 5. For the Canadian experience class, there isn't an education requirement. And again, this I'm saying generally, because as I mentioned, there are some jobs that require you to show that you are certified to work in that field. However, you do get points for your education. So if you've attended a school in Canada, you do get points for that. If you've attended a school outside of Canada, you would get points for that, and you want to ensure that you do a credential assessment for your education outside of Canada. So these are the three general areas that fall under the express entry program, the Canadian Experience class, which is for persons who have at least 1 year work experience in Canada, legal work experience under a NOC code that falls under O, A, or B. The Federal Skilled Worker Program, which is for persons who have work experience outside of Canada for at least 1 year, and again in an occupation that is either under the NOC under NOC O, A, or B, or the third one, which is for the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and that again, as I said, is for persons who have at least 2 years work experience, and it's more hands-on jobs like electricians, bakers, chef, plumbers. The other area that falls under the express entry program is the provincial nominee program. So the provincial nominee program is really um, run by the different provinces in Canada, and each province creates their own program based on their labor demands, based on their labor needs or labor shortages. So the provincial nominee program varies from province to province, and for this program, you must, it's similar to the other programs in the sense that you must possess the skills, the education, and the work experience. Um, but it must be the work experience that will contribute to that province. So, for example, if a province has a labor demand for, this is just an example, for truck drivers, then they will tailor their provincial nominee program to attract persons who have that experience, right? So if, for example, let's say the province of Ontario, there's a demand for persons in the IT field, they will tailor their program to bring persons who are qualified in that field to Canada. So if you have experience, the required experience in that field, you'd want to focus your attention on Ontario or on a province that is looking for your work experience. So you must have the desire to live in that specific province, and you you must you generally be contacting the province. Though this program is under the express entry program, you will be working with the province, and the province is it's the you're issued that certificate by to apply by the province. So the provincial nominee program nominates, I shouldn't say issue a certificate. So you're in lay terms, you're nominated by the province. So as the specific province will nominate you once you would have submitted the required information and you would have met the requirements. And what that does is that it gives you additional points under the express entry program. So let's say you've created a profile under the express entry program, but you're nominated by a province because you have work experience in an area where they have labor shortage, then you get additional points under added to your score, and it makes you more likely to be invited to apply for permanent residence through the express entry program, and you can receive an additional 600 points for that for being nominated by a province. So the express entry program in general operates on a comprehensive ranking system, and this is the system that is used to award points to persons in the express entry pool. So when you create a profile, you enter a pool with everyone else who's eligible, and this comprehensive ranking system is what is used to give or award points to everyone in the pool. So as I would have mentioned at the beginning of this session, that there's six selection factors, and there's six areas where you're awarded points. So you can get like core points, a maximum of 600 core points, and then you can get additional points. And as I mentioned just now, one of the ways to get additional points is by getting a nomination from a province or territory in Canada. So you get core points for the factors that we would have listed at the beginning of this session. Um, and then you can get additional points for having a Canadian degree, for having a valid job offer in Canada. So let's say, for example, you're applying under the first program, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and you're using your experience outside of Canada, right? But then you attended school in Canada, so you have a Canadian degree. You get additional points for that, and then you're just so fortunate that you get a job offer from a Canadian employer, you will get additional points for that. So you'll be given the points for your work experience, your language ability, and all these other things, and then you'll get additional points for these other factors that I just listed, and you can get a maximum of 600 additional points. You get additional points also for having a sibling who is a Canadian permanent resident or citizen. And if, for example, you have strong French skills, you also get additional points for that. As you may know, Canada has two official languages, that's English and French. And generally, most persons coming to Canada would take the English language test, but you can also take the French test. So if you have, you know, you get high scores for the English language test, and then you're also good, you get good scores for the French test, then you get the French language test, then you get additional points for that. So it increases your chances of being selected to apply. I've wanted to share also a breakdown of the points that you can get for each area for persons who are applying with a spouse and without a spouse. So if you're applying to come to Canada through the Express Entry program, and you're married, or you have a common law partner, and a common law partner is for immigration purposes is someone who you've lived with for 12 consecutive months. So your spouse or partner, you can enter their information, for example, their English language test results, their work experience, their education, and your spouse will also get points, which again increases your overall score and increases your chances of being invited to apply to the Express Entry program. So another area that is important is skills transferability, and skills transferability looks at Canadian experience. So again, if you're applying through um, if you're outside of Canada and you're applying through the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Federal Trades Program, but you have Canadian experience, or you have, for example, a certificate of qualification, then you will get points for skills transferability. For a certificate of qualification, that applies to certain professions that are regulated. So, for example, let's say you're a lawyer, but you were educated outside of Canada. You receive your license to practice law outside of Canada, but you were able to enter the licensing program for lawyers in Canada, and you were able to obtain something that is called a certificate of qualification. And what that is that it's a certificate that you were given, which is to state that your education is equivalent to someone who would have been to school in Canada, who would have attended law school in Canada. Um, for some programs, for some occupations, there might be a number of exams that you have to write, and once you would have passed those exams, there's an organization outside of Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada that regulates that profession, and they give you a certificate because you would have met the requirements or pass the exam. So once you get that, you get additional points because then it's you're easy to transfer those skills. You're easy to adapt to the Canadian working environment. So you'd want to check to see if you're in a regulated profession, and you'd want to ensure that you look into the requirements of getting, if you're in a regulated profession, you'd want to look into the requirements of getting a certificate of qualification, because it will increase your points under the in the express entry pool, and again increases your chances of being invited to apply. I do want to mention that for the English test, it's only valid for 2 years before you submit your application. So if you're applying to the Express Entry program in 2020, but you have taken the language test in 2016, then you can no longer use those test results. You must retake the test. As with all immigration programs, you must be admissible to Canada. So if you're inadmissible, for example, you can be inadmissible for committing a crime, for either misrepresentation or providing false information to immigration, for different other things that are listed in the Immigration Act. For example, um, some kind of human rights violation, or for medical reasons. So you must be admissible to Canada in order to apply. And I do want to mention that the province of Quebec generally has their own immigration requirements. So the express entry program for the express entry program, there are rungs of invitation that are issued, and generally it's issued every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks there's a number of persons that are issued an invitation to apply. So once you're in that express entry pool, every 2 weeks they select a number of persons from that pool who they issue an invitation to apply for permanent permanent residence in Canada. And the scores, like the lowest score, it 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 generally remains just around like high, within the high 400s. But again, it does fluctuate, because from time to time only persons in a specific program might be invited to apply. So though generally it's within the high 400s. This is not the same for every round of invitation. And for example, um, for during the COVID period, there was a for a couple of invitations. There was a focus on the Canadian experience class, because of course there were travel restrictions in place, and most borders and airports were closed, so persons, weren't able to travel. So there wasn't much of a focus on persons coming from outside of Canada. But um, the last round, they're now inviting persons from all different they've resumed, I should say, inviting persons from all different streams. As I mentioned initially, the Express Entry program is one of the most popular programs to um, come to Canada. Most of the persons that are given permanent residence in Canada come through the Express Entry program, or I should say, the economic stream, because it is classified as the economic stream. So if you feel that you have the work experience, and you would meet the other criteria for coming to Canada through the Express Entry program, please feel free to contact us at KYL Law Firm. Um, and I've also provided my email. You can send us an email, and we do provide a free initial assessment for a person. So if you feel that you would qualify for the, please feel free to contact us. And again, I want to mention that nothing said in this presentation today is legal advice. If you do have a problem with an application, or you would like to submit an application, please contact a qualified professional, to assist you with your application. Thank you for watching this session, and we will be back here again next month doing another session on a different immigration topic, Canadian immigration topic.